You're now locked onto another episode of the Nolimitspreneur Podcast, the show that helps you dominate in life and in business to enhance your mindset, confidence, productivity, time management, habits, and goals. And now, your host, Maher Abiad.
Hey, what is up, Success Nation? It's your boy, Maher Abiad here, back with you again for another fantastic Nolimitspreneur Podcast episode. I'm really excited to have you join me today because I have on the show Cory Brewer, who is the owner of Great Lawns and Beyond. Cory has been an entrepreneur for a number of years and is running a fantastic company in Great Lawns and Beyond. Definitely one to check out in North Vancouver, BC. And I wanted to bring him on. I met Cory in 2019 at Toastmasters, and he's a great entrepreneur, great public speaker. And I wanted to bring him on to be able to help small business owners, entrepreneurs with sort of the initial struggles of starting a business, sort of breaking through the fears and the uncertainty, and obviously we're going to be talking about today about routines, discipline, habits, confidence. So it's definitely an episode you want to check out and listen to. So without further ado, let's jump into the podcast episode right now. So welcome, Cory Brewer, owner of Great Lawns and Beyond. Welcome to the Nolimitspreneur Podcast. I'm really excited to connect with you. You've definitely been an entrepreneur like myself for a number of years, and I'm really happy to have you on so you can share a number of great pieces of advice for other entrepreneurs. So welcome again to the show.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Great to connect. Obviously, as many people might not know, I met Cory through Toastmasters. We met last year, and we definitely had a connection with public speaking and, of course, in entrepreneurship. And I wanted to bring on Cory to really, help people get started. He runs a successful business. He's an entrepreneur, business owner, manages a number of people as well. So anything to sort of help others that are just starting out their business. A lot of small business owners listen to this podcast as well. And I want to give them some advice on how they can sort of, break through some of the struggles. Entrepreneurship is not easy. Anyone that tells you that is obviously lying to you. There's a number of things that will get in your way. But the beauty about entrepreneurship is if you can get to the point where you have an obstacle and you have a struggle and you're able to learn how to break through that, that's the magic of entrepreneurship, and that's where the success really comes. But before we get started on a number of the tips, can we learn more about you as well and kind of how your story came about? Can you talk about your journey into entrepreneurship, how you ended up finding sort of your calling to start your own business?
Absolutely, yeah. After high school, I didn't know what I wanted to, so my parents gave me the choice to either go into trades or go to business school or some other degree. So I went to university. I got a 4-year degree in 5 years. It was mainly just a place for me to mature a little bit, get some of my partying out, and just have fun. I did get a degree at the end of it. And at the end of my 5 years at Capilano University, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Definitely didn't necessarily want to go into trades. So it's kind of funny how I went full circle back to my choice after high school. I had applied for a couple sales jobs and found it took a lot longer than I expected. It was a lot more difficult than I expected. And then after about 6 months of doing some temp jobs in some different fields and different offices, I realized a couple things. One, the office dream job that I imagined as a kid, going to an office every day wearing a suit and tie, wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. In fact, I almost hated it. I was falling asleep every day in my chair in the afternoon. I just wasn't quite motivated for any of the jobs I had. And then I did finally have 2 good sales jobs. And after asking my uncle which one I should pick between the 2, I had this young, fun tech company that I'd always dreamed of working at. And then I had another older sales position that was probably a bit better money and better long-term, but I had 2 awesome opportunities to explore, and I would have done quite well in either one of them. But after talking with my uncle and I asked him which to choose, he actually said, turn them both down and go into business for yourself. So I'll never forget that phone call. I was sitting on a roof. I was actually doing some gutter cleaning for a customer at that time. I didn't have a really much of a landscaping business, but I did some labor work for people around my neighborhood just for some extra money through high school and university. And I was doing a gutter cleaning job in the rain, and I was sitting on the roof, and once I realized that I'd potentially be stuck out in the outside for a couple more years and not in a nice comfy office, I was pretty upset. But thankfully, I did take my uncle's advice and I went full into starting my landscaping company. I didn't do it on the side like I'd wanted to. I had wanted to work in an office and have a comfy job and then build up a business on the side. Instead, he said, just go all in, and then there's no looking back. You have no choice to either succeed or fail if you go all in. So thankfully, I did take his advice, and I started my landscaping company about 5 years ago in February. And then I have grown quite quickly since then. It's been unbelievable and the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Absolutely. And congratulations on your success. That's absolutely fantastic. Great advice from your uncle. And I think a lot of us always struggle with, knowing that there's something deeper, there's a bigger meaning that we have inside, but we're afraid to take the next step because of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. We think we're going to fail and that's going to, ruin our life or whatnot. But to take that action is the best thing that you did. And I think everyone listening, if you have that sort of feeling that, I can do better, I can do more, just take that first step. Because even if you take that first step and things don't work out, that's more important than down the road years later being stuck in the same position that you're in, but having the regrets. As I've talked about many times before, having regrets is the worst thing. So again, congratulations on that. I wanted to jump into talking about productivity. You are running and managing a big team. Good productivity habits are so important. You can talk the talk, but if you don't walk the walk, taking action is so important. And those productivity habits are so important to get things done and move the needle in life and in business as well. How do you manage your time while staying organized and getting a lot done and managing so many people on your team as well?
Absolutely. Well, the biggest thing for me is routine. I was fortunate enough to slowly learn the value of routine, probably after university, which would have helped me out quite a lot. And maybe I wouldn't have been such a procrastinator. But routine was what really got me. And it started with just the gym. And I'd be at the gym every day at like 5:30. So whatever job I had, no matter what day of the week it was, I knew that I couldn't make any plans or do anything else between 5:30 and 6:30 Monday and Friday. For me, it just became second nature. So I started doing that. And then once I started my business, I quickly realized as I'm going every different direction and doing all these different things, that a good routine was the only way I could do it. So I started expanding that, and I started off waking up every morning at the same time and going to bed at the same time, having lunch at the same time. And it just progressed further and further and further. I would still do my day's work of 8 to 4:30 in the field. I'd go to the gym, and then from 6 o'clock onwards after dinner, from 6 p.m. till midnight, it was blocked off to work. So that means I didn't have the opportunity to go and make plans to do anything else on the weeknights. And then it just slowly became my life. And then it was a lot easier to manage a high workload and work long hours if it just became routine. I knew every Monday, maybe the only break I had in the afternoon was going to Toastmasters for a couple hours. But then after Toastmasters, I'm coming right back and I'm working. So it really kept me out of trouble and really kept me focused. In terms of other productivity habits and things like that I did, would be starting to really jump into every different software that I could. I used softwares and notebooks and different programs to manage my life in every different way. Obviously, Google Calendar is a really powerful one. I used Trello and I pretty much ran my whole company off Trello. It was a very basic program. And then as we've progressed, I've added more and more softwares. But I never leave anything to chance. I have a terrible memory. So if I have a single thought during the day, during the night, I write it down. And if a customer calls me while I'm doing something else, I just write everything down. And then at the end of the night, I just go back and I review everything and I make sure that I never miss anything. So it was the only way I was able to manage that much stuff in my first 3 or 4 years. When before you have an assistant and a salesperson and operations person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And me personally, I love Evernote. I schedule, I keep track of ideas. podcast ideas, YouTube ideas, whatever ideas come into my head, because as soon as it comes in, I know I'm going to have another thought and it's going to come right out again. So I want to make sure I lock it in. I use a notebook and a journal as well. But like you said, routines are so important. We all live in a routine type of state. And unfortunately, sometimes those routines and the habits within the routines are not good. So it's always good to take that step back to see, am I taking the right steps every day? And like you said, just going to the gym, that discipline is so important, and that's what leads to success in entrepreneurship. So fantastic, way to go about it. And you mentioned Toastmasters, obviously, and in Toastmasters, you always spoke with confidence and while up on stage. How did you develop and improve your confidence over time through public speaking?
Oh, Toastmasters absolutely had a profoundly positive impact on my life, my confidence, and definitely my public speaking. I remember when I was 17 or 18, I went to my first Toastmasters meeting and I saw people on stage going up there and giving impromptu speeches with no practice ahead of time, no idea what the subject was going to be. And I looked at them and I never came back for about 4 or 5 years. I was so terrified of the thought of going up there and doing that regularly. So I really struggled through university, my class projects, presentations. And while I could speak loudly and often clearly, I was extremely unconfident with lots of ums and ahs, looking down, and all the terrible things that a bad public speaker would do. So it wasn't until I joined Toastmasters and was really encouraged by some of the members there to constantly get on stage and practice and be there every week. Again, back to a routine is even if I didn't want to go, I knew Mondays were Toastmasters. No matter what, I had to be there. So it was just part of my routine to go there and get up on stage and practice. And then slowly through the years, people they'll look at somebody that's been at Toastmasters for 2 or 3 years and be like, wow, you guys are so good and I'd like to be like you. But if you go rewind the clock, when in my first year, I was no better than anybody else. In fact, quite a lot worse than most people. So at the end of the day, it's just practice and stage time and just showing up and being there and constantly working on it. And it's made an absolutely huge difference on my life, the way I speak, and pretty much every aspect.
Yeah, and confidence, as you just mentioned, is so profound in many different aspects. If you don't have confidence in many different avenues, if you're trying to do public speaking, you really do need to have confidence. If you're trying to find a life partner and you want to go out on dates, you really do have to have that confidence. If you're really trying to start a business, and you have to have that confidence and that self-esteem to know that you are worth it and you are able to accomplish whatever it is that you want. And it does come down to practice. Confidence can, people aren't born confident. I wasn't born confident. I had to sort of develop and get out of my shell. Many times growing up, I was, just sitting behind the computer and I wouldn't get out and interact with people. And then I said, I got to go to networking events. I started going to meetup groups. I started, starting a YouTube channel to try to, get myself out there. I started doing podcasting to try to get my voice out there as well. And obviously joining Toastmasters was a great way to sort of meet new people and learn more about you, because once you learn more about yourself and you kind of know where that envelope is, and once you take that first step and you're able to, if you're going to Toastmasters and you got a couple meetings under your belt, you're like, wow, if I can do this, what else can I do? And it really kind of pushes you to do more and shows you that you can do more. What was one of your aha moments that you had sort of in your entrepreneurial journey that really changed your life or your business that you can share with the audience today? For me personally, I really realized that I have all the control. I'm not going to sit here and wait for somebody else to give me permission to live a good life or to have a successful business or to reach better levels in my life or business. Once I realized that I was in control and my success was in my making, then my sort of entrepreneurial journey changed. What was that sort of aha moment for you that really kind of opened up your eyes that you can share with the audience today?
Oh, I've had hundreds. Every week, every month, you learn something new about yourself and something new about business. And often you think you're so smart in your first or second year, even now, and then a month or a year later, and you just think about how you did everything wrong and you've learned from that. But several things that I've really learned about myself is to have to trust and to delegate to other people. I mean, it sounds ridiculous now, but when I first started my landscaping company, I hired my first people. I was genuinely concerned that my staff wouldn't know how to put the mowers on the right settings for different lawn cuts. And maybe they wouldn't know what to do on each lawn. And in perspective now, it's absurd when I have 30 staff and I have an operations person, salesperson, and people I'm trusting them to run big projects and stuff like that are so much more complicated. But every step of the way, I've had to fight my ego a bit about, oh, I can do this better than somebody else, so therefore I should be doing it. And it took quite a long time for me to realize and value my time. And I wasted so much time and money in the first 4 years not delegating more and not trusting people more. And once you get to the point where you're so busy and you can't handle it anymore, that's when you start delegating. And then that's when my business started exploding. Is I trusted my staff and they did wonderful things and have done pretty amazing things. So two of the big aha moments I'd had would be to manage my own ego and to really trust and delegate to other people.
Yeah, and that's one thing I struggled with early on is nobody knows it as well as I do, so nobody can do it. So that's, I felt that I reached the ceiling as well. And until I kind of let go of that and said, you know what, no, other people, I'm not the best coder in the world. I'm not the best graphic designer in the world. I'm not the best video editor in the world, but there's other people that are passionate about it, and they are experts in that field. So when you can bring in those experts in that team, that's when you really can start to see your business grow. And for a lot of small business owners right now, if you feel like you're hitting a ceiling, it's definitely because of lack of delegation and that thing we say to ourselves. It's like, nobody can do it better than I can. Well, you know what? Everyone should be able to do it, their way to the standards of the organization. And if something does go wrong, then that's fine. How do we fix that? Let's fix it. Let's learn from it and then grow. Because if you don't kind of let the birds, fly off, then again, you're going to be stuck there and you're never going to see the success that you deserve. For me, every day, I have a lot of motivation to wake up and share my message, share my journey with people, and really try to motivate people to kind of go out there and try something new that day or just push themselves. What motivates you each day to do the work that you do? What's that fire sort of in your belly to make great things happen when you wake up?
Sure. Yeah, I'll get to that one second. I did want to bring up one point for the previous question, which was adding on to the valuing my time thing. Once I really started valuing my time, you're forced to delegate and have other people do almost everything. Because say if you value your time at even something as an entrepreneur owner, $100 an hour, it really puts things into perspective. It's like, well, why would I do this if somebody else can do it for 20 or 25 bucks an hour? So I found once I really started valuing my time and didn't start wasting my time on anything that I could delegate, things really went quite a lot better. And then I also found that my staff often performed most of the skills and tasks that I asked them to at a higher level than I ever did. So I really that kind of blew my mind as I grew, is people were better at almost everything than me. So I wasn't as great as I was. Anyway, sorry, can you rephrase the question? I did want to touch on that really quickly. No,
absolutely. And that's a very, very good point as well. Sort of the motivation that, what's that sort of fire in your belly that you have and that motivates you every day when you wake up to do the great things that you do?
Back to routine. I think routine is one of the biggest things. Is if I have a specific amount of hours in the day, those are all work hours. I know I'm going to be working hard and getting done as much as possible. So that's what I've committed to working to for the first 5 years at least, is maybe long weeks or long days for some people. But for me, it's just part of the routine. I'm going to show up and I'm going to work. But one thing I noticed that really changed is in my first year when I was just myself for the most part of it, I found that it was very easy to sleep in until 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning and then go wake up, do a bit of work and put things off. But the second I started hiring people, then all of a sudden I had this unbelievable amount of accountability that I really was not expecting. So as an example, it didn't matter what I did the night before. If I went out to party or if I was sick, I knew that I had to be up at 7:45 in the morning to meet my crews at 8 o'clock. I had to get them started off. Otherwise, I'm paying them to sit around and they're going to be unhappy. And then to continue on with that, if I didn't do my job and I didn't go out and sell and make sure that they had work, then all of a sudden the people that are relying on me for income, they may have families, may have kids, they may have bills. If I don't do my job, then they don't have any money. And then I will negatively impact their life. And then once I really started understanding that, it just further and further motivated me to do better. And then once things start rolling and you see progress and you start buying tools and equipment and hiring people, I find it just steamrolls. And the more and more you have, the more motivating it gets. And the more you get out of the day-to-day and you get to slowly start working more on the business after a couple of years, I found that is what really motivates me, and it's what really drives me, is obviously giving a great place for my employees to work, but also just the growth and the what's coming of all my hard work. Once it starts coming together, I find that really is motivating as well.
And you made an amazing point, that accountability. I realized when I was sort of getting started in my entrepreneurial journey, I wasn't really accountable to anybody. So I kind of, like you just said, I was a little bit lax and stuff. But until I told myself I got to be accountable to my future self, because my future self in 5-10 years is waiting, the Maher that's the successful Maher in 5 to 10 years. He's waiting on me to make sure that I'm accountable now, and I get the stuff that I need to do now and have that routines in place now and the habits and the good discipline now. So then by the time I reach there, because success doesn't happen overnight, folks. It's a culmination of every single day hard work. We see sports athletes, we see musicians, actors, and whatnot, and we think that success just dropped on them just like that. Or even other entrepreneurs, big tech CEOs, for example. It doesn't happen. It's days, months, years, decades of that hard work. And again, congratulations on the success that you've had. Let's close off with how people can sort of learn more about you and how they can learn more about your business and your services, and how can people reach out if they want to get in touch with you?
I think reaching out on social media, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, we have Facebook. You can go on anywhere there on our website, www.lawnsbeyond. You can look on our website. I'm always happy to help. I'm actually in several networking groups with, aside from Toastmasters, with different trades companies, and we all help each other regularly. There's a couple different programs that we're in as well that really help train and grow trades businesses. And I network constantly with other landscapers, even in my own area. We share tips and tools and equipment and whatever either one of us needs. So I think that's been a huge help as well. And so feel free to reach out to me at any time on LinkedIn or through our website, and I'm happy to help anyone that needs it.
Perfect. Cory Brewer, thank you so much again for jumping onto the Nolimitspreneur Podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time out today and providing so much incredible value.
Thank you.
So thank you so much once again to my guest, Cory Brewer, owner of Great Lawns and Beyond, for coming onto the Nolimitspreneur Podcast today. I really hope you got a ton of value and learned a lot of what we talked about. Definitely subscribe to the channel on YouTube for more great content just like this. And I really do hope that you go out there and do something new today. Like we talked about in today's episode, your envelope is a lot bigger than you think it is. Go out there, push the envelope, do something that challenges you, because success is just on the other side of change. If you don't change today, you will not see success coming, because if you don't change, your life won't change. And when you change inside, and when you start developing that confidence and taking, developing yourself to take calculated risks and being able to say, you know what, I can do this. Even if it doesn't work out, I'm a better person because of it. That's how you're going to grow. And I really want you to grow, because once I discovered that even taking that first step in life, in something, whatever it was, once you're able to do it, you're like, wow, if I can do that, what else can I do? And it really snowballs you to be able to get that momentum. And life and business is about momentum. once you get that momentum and you got that snowball going, you can do so much and you will notice your life and business succeed. Once again, my name is Maher Abiad. Thank you so much once again for joining me on the Nolimitspreneur Podcast. I will catch you in the next podcast episode.
You've been listening to another quality episode of the Nolimitspreneur Podcast with your host, Maher Abiad. Want to continue to master your mindset? Download the 7 self-limiting beliefs that are stealing your success away guide for free right now at NoLimitsMindset.com.